like 5 years from now, like where do you see this whole thing?
I think we tend to underestimate where we can be in 5 years. If I would
Underestimate or overestimate?
I would say underestimate where you
So
can
we
get.
overestimate what we can be in a year, and then underestimate what we can be in 5 years.
Yes.
I agree. Yep.
So I can set some pretty big 1 year targets, but then when I go, okay, now extrapolate that out over 5 years. I think we can go a little bit bigger. So right now we're at 220 agents. The goal, the 5 year goal, is to be at 1,100.
1,100 agents.
1,100 in multiple markets
Nationally.
nationally.
All right, what's going on, my friends? Welcome to another episode of Alan K Show, brought to you by Modern Day Brokerage, where we every single week interview and learn from and inspired by amazing individuals, entrepreneurs, business owners, top agents, top team leaders, brokerage owners, you name it. And those individuals are not timid. They're not settled for mediocrity. They take bold steps, bold actions, and they push through adversity. And today we have a very, 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 very special guest.
Oh, wow.
This is someone that I've known for quite some time. We used to be part of the same brokerage. This is the individual that these numbers are crazy numbers, but hear me out. For the past 5 years, averaging about $1 billion in sales value from 2019 and on. A team. It's not a brokerage. It's a team of 220 agents. They got 5 locations around Arizona, 4 locations in Phoenix, 1 location in Tucson. We're talking about mega team, probably one of the top teams in the nation. He's also got a bunch of investment properties, 35 rental properties. He's got ownership in 3 commercial buildings, as well as partnership in 2 apartment complexes. So this guy, again, like I said, very special. I call him a unicorn in our business, probably one of the legends in our business, Mr. George Laughton. And he's my neighbor as well, by the way.
That too, yes.
Yeah. And
that's
married.
actually my claim to fame. I am neighbors to Alan K.
But actually, one of your good friends is my neighbor right now.
Yeah, actually, yes.
That's right.
Yeah, we just did an off-market deal to get him into that place. So great dude. First, I think, Cybertruck in Peoria. Maybe.
In Peoria, yeah.
Getting all the heads turned for
I
sure.
tell you, honestly speaking, I still cannot get used to it.
Oh no, they're so ugly. They're cool, right? In my opinion.
Yeah,
it is very
just
interesting.
Different, you know. It's just I look at it every time. It's just different, you know. It's just different. But yeah, man. I mean, look, it's an honor. It's an honor to have you on my podcast. I know it took a little bit of time, but dude, you're a super busy guy.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me, and I really appreciate the intro. I'm actually going to use that in my recruiting deck moving forward.
As long as it's not against my agents, I think we're good, dude. That's it. As long as it's not my agents, we're good as far as that goes. But like, dude, I know you didn't start it this way, right? Kind of tell the audience, like, how did it all started, your own journey in real estate?
Yeah, well, I think this is my 18th year in the business. I started, I think like a lot of us did, really interested and intrigued by investment real estate.
Yeah.
I was a college student, ASU. I was in my last semester of college, and I was taking a 400 level accounting course, and that was the class that broke me. I'll be honest. Like, I probably should have stayed for that one because the accounting principles are important to know, but I was like, I just need a break. I need a break. I need a break.
Yeah.
And my wife and I, I hadn't met her yet, but I was a bartender. I was bartending my way through college. I was going to get a global business management degree, and I had taken this 400 level accounting course, and I said, I just need a break. And so at that time, one of the bar regulars was investing a ton in real estate. He was always the guy that had high tabs, tipped really well, had cash on him. And so I was like, oh, maybe I can learn from this guy a little bit about real estate investing. And so that's where I started. So this was 04, 05.
That's when a lot of people
A
started.
lot of people started, right? And we initially I was helping people and doing some on the loan side of it. Everybody was an agent and a loan officer, and so move forward to my wife and I really started dating like 2005. Got married on a whim in Vegas in 2006. 18 years married now too, and crazy because we were both just a couple kids.
So at that time, you're what, 21, 22?
No, 24, 25.
24, 25.
Yeah, 24,
so
25.
you got married pretty young.
Yeah, young.
And you married in Vegas.
On a whim.
Was one of those like drive-throughs for 1995?
It was pretty darn close.
Yeah.
So we were there actually. So interestingly enough, I was bartender. I was one of those like cocktail, flair tenders that spun bottles and did fire shows and all of that stuff. And
Shirtless or
no, yeah. I actually had to wear a really ugly shirt at the time. It was this Hawaiian looking shirt. Yeah. But that's what I was doing at the time. We were actually in Vegas for the bartenders convention where they do those flair shows and stuff like that. And, we'd probably had too many cocktails throughout the day. And we were sitting at a bar in Rio, which I mean, I don't even know if we'd go there now, but we're sitting at the bar of the Rio, and the bartender.
The bar still exists?
I don't know.
Where is it? Where was it?
So Club Rio, is that the one?
Club
it's off
Rio.
the Strip. So
I don't know if there's still. I don't think it's still there. I mean, is it? Anyway, so Club Rio, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't even remember the last time I was in Vegas. Club Rio, we're sitting at the bar, and the bartender's like, "Hey, you guys, where are you from?" I'm like, "Phoenix." And my wife, she's from Pittsburgh. She goes, "I'm from Pittsburgh." And he's all, "Oh, no joke. My wife is from Pittsburgh." He's like, "Man, if you don't marry this girl, you're doing something wrong." I was like, "Oh man, I think maybe I should marry this girl." Right? Like this bartender in Vegas talked me into best thing that ever happened to me.
Yeah,
best thing that ever happened to me.
Yeah.
But it was interesting, and then I realized he lines up the limo. He lines up the chapel. He lines everything up for us. I get it probably took me 10 years later. Like this might be this guy's shtick, Wow. He sees up, but it was really, really. It worked out obviously amazingly well for me. But going from getting married randomly in Vegas to creating this great real estate team and company together has been a wild ride. But so interested in real estate investing, and we end up buying 3 rental properties, my wife and I, 3 rental properties in the fourth quarter of 2006.
Oh, perfect timing. Perfect.
All on option arm financing. So you want to write the book for what not to do?
That's exactly what I did.
So that's where we started. I thought it was super smart.
Right.
I thought we would figure this out. We'd have a big rental portfolio.
Stated income probably.
Yeah, stated income.
Yep.
It was all the things now looking back, like how not to do it.
Yeah.
And then we had to regroup, obviously. So 07, early 07, I started seeing the waters change a little bit.
Yeah.
Even in fourth quarter of 06, we probably should have seen what was coming a little bit more. But early 07 is when, so licensed 06, we started to look at the foreclosure market, REOs. And so new licensee, I had really looked at, I had a great partner that I just met, Scott Gibson. Have you ever met Scott?
No, but I heard about him.
So Scott was my partner. We were partners early in the business, and he had a little bit more experience than I had. He'd already been licensed a few years. And so we went down the path of going and getting these institutional sellers, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, Wells Fargo, just like a year or two before everybody else started going towards it. And that was really the catalyst that launched the real estate business for us. Go ahead.
Dude, I mean, but all right. So you're like you said that you did this a year or two before, where most of the other, let's say, agents.
I would say agents,
right?
Yeah.
Like went after the REO business.
Correct.
Right. So what was, man? When Gretzky says that I skate where the puck is going to be, right? Something along those lines, right? Like in your situation, you got on that train before most of the other agents or team leaders, or at that time, I'm not sure how many teams there were there, or brokerages were going after, right? REO business.
Yep.
So what kind of like ignited you, what triggered you to go after REO business versus kind of saying, you know what, let me do whatever everybody else is doing, which is kind of trying to sell as many homes as possible, traditional way?
Yeah.
I mean, what was it?
Yeah. So we looked at a couple things. One, I didn't have a book of business at that time other than the people that hung out at the bar, right? And a lot of those people weren't.
So you were not
homes.
selling a lot of real estate.
We weren't selling a lot of real estate.
Yeah.
My first year, 2006, I sold 13 properties, which not horrible for your first year in real estate, but everybody was buying at that time.
Sure.
2007, I met Scott Gibson in January, February of that year, and we were talking about foreclosure market. I'd seen a couple pop up on my street, and I was like, I really need to learn more about this segment of the industry. There's always a convention to go to. There's always a magazine, and I remember Scott and I were talking about that, and he suggested we go out to REO Mac, which was in Palm Springs, and we went out there. And he had sent me an article from Wall Street Journal saying that HSBC had misforecast their defaulting assets by hundreds of millions of dollars at that time. And I'm like, man, if a 100-year-old European bank can screw up how many defaulting assets they have, maybe there's something here that'll be 10% of the market is what we were thinking. It's like, hey, is this going to be 10% of the market? But if we get all 10% of the market, if we're only one of the few that get them in the Phoenix market, then we really have something there. And so the big convention in that space was REO Mac at the time. We went out there and literally, man, like there was maybe 300-400 agents that went that year. And at the end of the convention, so this is when asset managers would still wear name tags walking around these conventions. And at the end of it, they would tell you how to sign up for their platform. So last day of the convention, literally there'd be chairs sitting in a circle and then a sign sitting by the asset manager that said what institution they were with.
Yeah.
So we got to sit down with Wells Fargo, HSBC, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, all at this REO Mac, and they would tell us, well, go here, sign up, put this code in, and we'll get you onboarded.
Wow.
We went from, I don't know, so 13 listings in 2006. 2007, by the fall of that year, we had 150 listings. At our peak, we were 600 active listings or 600 listings strong, assets strong, and then
You're talking about 600 active listings at any given time.
at any given time. 09 was our big year. It was 600 assets, so not necessarily all active.
Yeah,
some are
yeah.
in that pre-market stage, some are under contract. But yeah, we were carrying about 600 assets or managing 600 assets for Freddie, Fannie, Wells. HSBC was a big client of ours too. But if you get Freddie and Fannie at that time, like that was a big deal.
Man, I got so many questions as far as that goes. Like, how are you able to like handle that work? I mean, it's like this is your second, third year in business. Like, I mean, you said your first year you closed on 13 transactions.
Yeah.
Like, and probably most of them were not even listings, right? And Jan probably didn't have that much experience. I don't know about Scott, but I don't think he handled 600 assets at any given time.
Yeah, I think that's where the experience came from, was Scott's side. So he had handled property management, and he'd handled 1,000 doors of property management.
Oh, okay.
And so it was still just the 3 or 4 of us. It was actually him, his wife, me and my wife, and then we had a transaction coordinator when we started. And so we had to build a very operational team, which I have an operational bend anyways.
Yeah.
And each one of us were account managers for different banks. So Scott handled HSBC, I handled Freddie.
Yeah.
My wife handled, it was actually another servicer, I can't remember the name of it, but we're all handling these different accounts, and then it continued to build. And then Scott got published in DS News. There was a few things that happened, and pretty soon institutions and banks were calling us. At the peak, I mean, we were 16 to 20 different banks that we were working with, and so we would bring on account managers. Every agent was looking for a job, but we were really looking for operationally minded agents that could follow a good playbook. And so that's what we went after. We went after these operational minds. It's transaction management. It's a lot of, maybe TC work, but also understanding some of the ins and outs of real estate and how to negotiate contracts. And so that's what we went after. At the peak, I think we were a team of 25. This is 2009, 2010. And working with all those different banks on all different platforms.
So a team of 25, majority of them operationally
minded.
Transaction.
Yeah. Still, what came from, they were all traditional agents.
Traditional agents.
That converted over.
Were you paying them some sort of like a salary or
no salaries?
No salaries. Okay.
I would say, hindsight, this is the other thing. If I were to do it over again, 100%.
100% paying them salaries.
100% paying them salaries with some sort of tiered bonus structure.
Right.
We did not traditional splits, but we split. Essentially, I can't remember exactly what the split structure was.
Yeah.
The agents were paid well. They worked really hard, but they really owned the account. And so didn't mind that one, because even some of them carried their own expenses within the account. Meaning, at those times, if the property needed fixed up, trashed out, whatever it needed, the agent or Scott and I carried that expense, and then the bank paid you back. The bank took 6, 7, 8 months to pay you back sometimes, and so that was.
So you're front loading thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars every single month on carrying expenses.
Correct. Yeah.
And then you're waiting for the bank to reimburse you
if you submit everything correctly. That was probably the biggest pain point of.
And it may take as long as 6 months.
Yeah. And you get, you get a check for a few $100,000, and you're like, okay,
and now
we can keep going. And that interestingly enough was, Jen and I were closing. Gosh, I mean, as a team, we were closing 100 and 200 property or 200 deals a month at that point, and we could barely pay our mortgage. Remember, I bought those 3 properties. This is the fourth quarter of 06. We're spending all of our capital paying out contractors to clean up foreclosure properties, and we're waiting for the check. The cash flow was just, it was a brutal. Big cash flow nightmare. And we could barely pay our mortgage.
So you're closing a couple of hundred of these transactions a month, and you're having a hard time paying your mortgage.
Yeah. Cash flow issues.
Yeah.
Right. And you don't want to say, stop sending me the properties.
Yeah.
You're like, I can figure it out. Didn't know how to raise capital then. Didn't know any other way to get it other than try to go borrow money from a bank. I mean, I'm 25 years old, 26 years old.
Hey, sorry for the interruption. Are you a real estate brokerage owner or a team leader that is looking to add consistently agents into your brokerage? My company's name is Modern Day Brokerage, and we help over 100 plus real estate brokerage owners and team leaders to predictably attract between 4 to 5 agents a month. If you want to learn more about it, go to the description page and select from one of the 4 links that we have there for you. Now back to the video.
Have you thought at that time, and I'm not sure, maybe you did that or not, did you guys have like a team of buyer's agents that would actually, I don't know, sell some of these properties and kind of like close in 30 days?
You would think that we would have done that. And once again, you learn from the past a ton. But this was the time where we were literally sleeping on futons in the office. Just because there was so many new assets coming in. A lot of times we couldn't find field services guys, and Scott and I would be out there, drilling locks and securing properties. And so it was a lot of sweat equity at that point. And to even think about trying to capture on the buy side of the business, we didn't have the foresight.
It was just
for
too
that.
overwhelming.
It was too overwhelming.
Yeah.
You're just trying to stay up with keep your tasks from going red and REO Trans, which I think is now Equator. I can't remember what it changed to, but yeah.
And what's that?
That was the platform that you received assets. One of the many platforms
so
that
when
you
it goes
received
red,
assets on.
Means that it just needs
you're
like
late.
you're late.
So you've got to do BPOs on every property.
Oh, you got to do BPOs on every property as well.
Every property, pictures. You got to secure the property, and all those things would pop up as tasks. And you've got to complete them by a certain time frame. And if you don't complete them by a certain time frame, the task goes red. Task goes red, you get less assets. So it's like never anything in the red. Was the whole team knew it. We had an
essentially
office.
You're almost kind of like you're a slave.
Oh yeah,
to the institutions.
Yeah, I would say it wasn't a very synergistic partnership. It was definitely, some did have good mindsets. I'll put it out there that, most didn't. We really enjoyed working with like Freddie Mac. They were always kind of the most open-minded and helpful, and also understood the weight of what we were doing, right? This isn't easy. These are people losing their homes, and trying to be able to navigate that with some grace is important too, right?
Yeah.
And so that was a lot didn't understand that. We tried to carry that balance of understanding the people's position, negotiating best as we could for like cash for keys, things along those lines. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, right? I mean, business ownership, entrepreneurship. I mean, it's for the lack of better words. I mean, it's a hard journey. Like there are a lot of times when you go like 2 steps forward, you think you went 2 steps forward, and then you're going backwards again.
Yeah.
Right. And in your situation, you would think from the outside, you're like, oh, look at this. I mean, these guys got 600 assets. I mean, they're closing a couple of hundred of them every single month. They're probably rolling in dough.
Yeah.
But in reality, like you are chief realtor, property manager, field service person, BPO, like wearing multiple hats, overwhelmed, barely able to pay for mortgage. During that period of time, were there times where you're like, you know what, screw this, like what? I mean, I'm just like, were there days where you were like, man, this is just not worth my sanity? No,
I don't think
No?
so, man. Like I don't know if wired that way, and in seasons of life. Today, I would do things much differently. But if you asked me to do it like that again, I wouldn't do it like that again.
Yeah.
Right. And so, but I was 25, 26 years old, and you don't mind working 14-hour days. At least I didn't. And my wife didn't, because we could see the future and what this could help us build in the foundation from it.
Yeah.
And so now, mind you, when the market shift, that team of operationally minded agents didn't fit the most traditional model, right? So this traditional model of lead generation, go out there, capture listings, represent buyers. We basically had to start over. And that's what we did. 2013, and went back down to me, my wife, transaction coordinator, and one agent. And now, 2013. And then we built it back up from there. Right? It was, a humbling task, but we knew that was the REO market was going to shut off like a faucet one day, and we saw it coming. I hung on probably a little longer than I should before building the traditional team back up, or actually my first time building a traditional team.
Yeah.
So we waited a little bit longer probably than we should have.
Right. So you essentially have to kind of restart your business again in 2013, right? So it was you, it was your wife, transaction coordinator, and then one agent.
Correct.
Okay. And the reason I wanted to kind of really kind of like go deep into that conversation about when you were going through with the REO market, because like a lot of people out there, when they start encountering hardships or uncertainty or certain things that are like just out of their control, they retrieve, they go back to the safety zone, to the comfort zone, if you will. Like in your situation, I mean, you're just continue to just overcome it and pushing through and going through the.
Yeah.
I mean, again, from what you're describing me, dude, like, I mean, it just, it was not like peaches and cream.
No. Yeah.
Like,
I mean, maybe one day that'll exist, but no, I think as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, you've got to be super gritty.
Yeah.
You've got to be willing to do whatever it takes, wear as many hats as you can. I mean, I say to my team a lot of times is like, we keep going, keep doing what we're doing because we haven't won yet. And kind of the definition of what winning is has changed over the years too. But we're continuing to grow, and growth is the vision, man. It always will be. I can't imagine a point in my life where I go, and maybe that's not a good thing, but like contentment is just not something that I think a lot of us entrepreneurs are wired for.
Yeah.
You know, we'd
Yeah.
probably be a little bit more balanced and happier, and our wives would probably love us a little bit more. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, we're wired for action. We're wired for, movement and growth.
Yeah.
And so in every aspect of our life, you know, always trying to improve and always trying to get better.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's like an analogy with oceans, man. When you're looking at the ocean, it's constantly moving.
Yeah.
You know, the water just stands there or sits there still. I mean, what happens usually with that water?
Yeah.
You know,
Stagnant.
it's just stagnant, murky and all of that. So it's the same thing with business. So started pretty much from the scratch again, 2013. How were you able to then build a team traditional way?
Well, I think you have to look at what's the main duties of a team leader. And to me, it was always lead generation, a big component of that. We need to be able to support our agents through coaching. You have to be a really good real estate coach. I had to learn a little bit more on the traditional side and actually go on some listing appointments myself.
Yeah.
I think also they look to us for great tech stacks, and I'm being operationally minded. I always try to look at ways that we can automate, make things simpler, and kind of still continue to improve the experience. And so where I went first was, well, if I'm going to bring these people on, if I'm going to attract the right agents, I better get good at lead generation. And what does that look like? And so we were one of the early Boomtown adopters. Yes.
Yeah.
So we got on the Boomtown platform, and we started spending a lot of money on PPC and ISAs.
Yeah.
Some of that money that I'd saved from the REO days, invested in kind of building that side of the business, getting things down funneled to hand raisers. And so creating as many appointments as I possibly could for my agents. And we went from, 2013, just me, my wife, and an agent. By the end of, I think it was 2014, we're up to, a team of 8 to 10. And that's a great spot to be in. We're investing not just in PPC leads, but we're aggregators like Zillow and Realtor. We were some of the early adopters there with small budgets. Just seeing what I can continue to do to add more opportunities to our team members and then help them convert. But 8 to 10, man, you're like a family. Everybody was in the office every day. Everybody was sitting there in the bullpen making calls and learning from each other and growing and expanding. And that's kind of, I think a lot of team leaders stop there. And because it is a comfortable spot to be in. I think it is a fulfilling spot to be in because you are like a family. You can all go to dinner together. You can all hang out.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I think, one, we had more to give. I thought we could change more lives. I thought we could help more people. I knew we could generate more leads and more opportunities. And so what was the next scale of the business? And I also lost one of those people that were family left the team, and it has a big impact on your bottom line when one person leaves, or maybe it's two that leave,
3, yeah.
And you have,
especially someone who's like a high producing agent leaves. I mean, that can potentially be like 10, 15, 20, 30% of your revenue. Yeah.
And so one, you have a duty even to not just yourself, but the other people on the team to make sure your business is durable. And at 8 to 10, you're not super durable.
Yeah.
Right? Like you're 2, 3 agents leaving, one big producer leaving to, being in the red. And that's a scary spot to be in. And I think at that point too, you just don't have what's their growth path past building a good book of business. You send these people, and this was something that I've thought about for a number of years, and we've actually created a different model to hopefully answer that question. But if they don't know how they're going to continue to grow with you, not just this year or next, but 10 years from now, they're going to create their own growth path, and you're not going to be in it.
Yeah.
And so most of them are thinking, especially if you hired a bunch of, if you follow DISC profile, you hire a bunch of DIs, they want to create their own team at some point, right? They're done hunting. They want to go build their own team. we've given them the tools, we've given them the opportunities, and we've helped build a book of business together. Man, that really hurts when somebody leaves and you basically trained your competition. And now all of them are, those early ones that left are still dear friends. But at the end of the day, I didn't have what was next for them. I didn't answer that question for them. So they had to go answer it themselves. And so you have to be able to answer that question.
So when did you make that shift? We're like, you know what? We're a traditional team. I have about 8 to 10 agents. They're all highly producing. Most of them are highly producing agents, right?
Yep.
One left. There's a chance another one's going to leave. There's another one. You're vulnerable, right? I mean, when did you make that shift in your mindset and also ultimately in your tiers or competition plans where you're like, you know what? I got to give them a bigger platform to shine.
Yeah, that came later. I mean, it still took me a number of years to kind of build out essentially growth paths for the agents within our team. The way that I answered the question initially was growing essentially agent count for more durability. Plus we had the lead flow to support it.
At that time, how many leads were you generating for 8 to 10 agents?
So appointment, I mean, PPC is, low converting.
Cheap.
I mean, it's in the hundreds at that time. Maybe we were in the thousands, but getting it down funnel to an appointment, we were still generating, 50, 60 appointments a month.
And that's through the ISA department.
That's the ISA department.
So you always said ISAs, right?
Yeah, for the most part. And that's taken many evolutions from outsourcing it to having, I've had 15 ISAs in office making calls. It's a really tough.
You had 15 ISAs?
In office, local. Making calls because I've been burned by offshore and nearshore and outsourcing. I'm like, screw it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it better here. And I didn't. And so now we have offshore. It's actually a nearshore ISA out of.
What's a nearshore?
Nearshore is just
like a United States somewhere?
Or Central America.
Central America.
Yeah,
okay, got it.
You're not completely different, opposite hours.
Okay.
Also, I think it translates really well to the Arizona market because most of them are Spanish speaking.
I see.
And so that's what we targeted. I think where are we out of Nicaragua or somewhere. I can't remember exactly which country, but that's where we operate out of. And then I have 2 in states like lead coordinators who've been basically manage the ISAs and manage some of the other flow of leads and things along those lines. But yeah, you ramped it up to 15 here locally, and it's a really tough segment of your business to define the ROI. Like that was the challenge with it was, okay, I've got these 15 guys. I can see all the appointments they created, but I don't know if it really moved our volume as much as I thought it was, or did the agents just call less? I don't know. I don't know, right? And so we didn't see numbers move significantly.
Right, and then you're looking at the ROI standpoint, like 15 ISAs, you're probably on average paying them $2,500, $3,000 a month.
Yeah.
Somewhere there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we're
on target. I mean, they were low bases. I forget what it was.
And the turnover rate is super
Huge,
high.
yeah,
Super high, right? So, I mean, you're shelling out probably between $40,000 to $50,000 a month.
Yeah.
Just for
then,
payroll.
Yeah, and then managers,
and then the leads.
Yeah, it gets expensive, but I've never been afraid to we call it firing bullets. I'm like, okay, we think this is the best way to go, and we'll test something. I think
for how long you tested though?
It depends. So it depends on what we're trying to, what our hypothesis is. So I think scientific method lacks. There's a lack of scientific method in this industry. People don't test their ideas. They just go, we're going to go all in and do it. And I go, oh, we got to A/B test these things and see if it makes sense. And then it might be a great quote. I can't remember what book it was from, but first you fire bullets, and then once it works, you fire cannonballs. And so that's a mantra that we've used for a number of years. And so think of anything that we do. For instance, I'll start with a small group of agents. So we have 220 agents today, but we're testing out today. One of the things we're testing out, we're spending money on, is AI transcribing calls. So everything that comes through as an inbound lead to the agent, there's the initial call. The initial call is recorded through our Follow Up Boss lines. Through AI, you can actually take that call. We can transcribe and summarize it right into Follow Up Boss. It gives the bullet points from it, and then hopefully at some point it's executing on the actions from that call. And then even then, what they miss. So as a leader, I can see the opportunities and what the agent missed in that call to be able to coach them and work on how they may have missed the appointment. Well, we don't build that out for the entire team. You get a subset of agents of 4 or 5. We try it, we perfect it, we get feedback, much like a tech company would. And this goes from a marketing campaign. This goes from listing presentation changes to calls to action on social media. You're testing everything in small scales and go, okay, this worked, and I'm going to pour gas on that. And we're going to continue to build on that and see if it continues to work. And so the ISA, these are other things I've learned over the years. The ISA was one that worked with 1 or 2, but sorry, not all things work just because you 10x them. So, it worked well creating the appointments, and we saw some ROI with 1 to 2 agent or ISAs, and then we go, well, maybe, and this is in our annual planning, maybe we just need to beef up our ISA department. But it's hard to duplicate when you've got good talent, 2 good talented ISAs that are doing amazing work, to find 15 good talented ISAs.
Because you're still going to probably end up with about 2, 3, possibly 4 good ISAs, talented ISAs, and then the rest of them are going to be average or below average.
Correct. Yeah.
But you're paying
the same. Well, not the bonus structure, but we're talking, even the producers are making a ton more than.
Yeah, but isn't the same thing applies to the agents though?
Yeah, I would say so.
Right. I mean, you're going to have some agents that are going to be having much higher conversions when it comes to, setting appointments or, meeting with those buyers and sellers. And then you're also going to have agents that you're going to give them the same number of appointments and the conversion rates are going to be half less.
Correct. And that's why, standards and expectations are so important. There's the minimum standard, and then there's the expectation that you want to hopefully get everybody to. And so trying to get the best out of people, and some people's capacity are just different than others, and that's okay. But what am I willing to not negotiate on? What is that conversion that is just not acceptable, where I'm willing to have a tough conversation with somebody? But it's also, the expectations are well known. The expectations when you come on the team are known, and we actually developed them together. Now, of the 220 agents, they weren't all there where we developed the expectations together, but there was a ton of buy-in because they helped create what our standards and expectations were for conversion and lead follow-up and all those other things. And so I always, anytime that I'm trying to create a new behavior, I get the agents, or at least today it's the influencer agents on the team, or change agents as I would call them, I get them involved in the process. Because if it's me just telling them what I think it should be, you're not going to get buy-in. You're not going to get them, as being one to be part of that change. But if they help create what the new model looks like and what the new standards are, they are way more bought in.
Yeah.
And so getting those people that are influential in each office today, those ones that, it's just super helpful. And they're usually, good drivers. They have high standards for themselves and for the business.
Yeah. So I guess what are your standards? What are your expectations of an agent? Let's say, for example, an agent, I want to join your team, right? What exactly you guys are expecting out of me as an agent?
So it depends. And this is where, 3 years ago now, we created the levels of agents. And so where I want everybody to have the same opportunities, the ones that perform are the ones that are rewarded. And so we are, at our core, a sales organization, regionally based, and you have to perform to receive more and better opportunities. And so depending on where you're coming from, if you come in as a producing agent, we have levels 1 through 4, 1 being the lowest, 4 being the highest. To be a level 4 agent, you got to be doing, I think, 35 to 45 transactions. We kind of project. We shifted it this year just because on the volume of transactions are down because interest rates are up, and so I'll look at where those scales are at annually. But to be a level 1 agent, I think that goes up to 12 transactions a year. So
And that's a producing agent.
That's a producing agent, 0 to 12 transactions. At 12, you bump to level 2. And then let's say, I can't remember the exact one, but let's say it's 24 up to 24, and then you bump to level 3. My expectations of a level 1 agent are that you're going to come in. You probably don't have a big database at that point. You're probably newer to the industry. You're going to build your database. You're going to call on some of our pond leads, and you're also going to get some opportunities, some lower price point opportunities from the team to see how you perform. We auto pause you for an optimization. So once you've earned the opportunity, you've done all the onboarding stuff, you've done the training, you've got your database into the system, you're doing some stuff, you're calling on pond leads, then we're going to give you an opportunity to take some team generated leads. At that point, you can take 15 team generated leads from multiple sources, Zillow, Realtor.com, AdWords.
That's per month.
That maybe.
Okay.
And mind you, some of these are really down funnel, but they're lower price points. So they might be to the point of a hand raiser and not need a ton of follow up.
When you say a low price point, we're
for us, Phoenix. So our average price point's $470 right now for the team.
Yep.
It would be probably anything $350 and below.
Gotcha.
Maybe $400 and below, and those are harder to convert. So we give some grace in that. So the standards for that price point are a little bit different than converting a $600,000 lead. At that point, the agents that they have the opportunity level 1 have the opportunities. They can move up if they hit the production, but there's also a really high rate of attrition and turnover at level 1, which is somewhat acceptable to me.
So when you say a high level of attrition, what are we looking at? For every 10 agents that you bring on, 5?
3 might make it.
3
might make it to level 2.
To level 2.
They might sit in level 1.
And that's above 12 transactions.
That's above 12 transactions, right? So they'll sit. Sometimes people are happy in level 1, but it's lower opportunities. It is less overhead for us. As long as you're not doing 0, minimum, it would be minimum for a year. Basically covers our team expenses.
Okay.
And so at that point, so level 1, additional opportunities, higher rate of attrition. But they said that's more acceptable there at level 1 because that's where they have to prove it to us, right? But once you get to level 3, I want very, very low turnover there. And so even level 2s, but all the opportunities in the middle. The more 2s you can get to move to 3s is where the money's at. And that's where the opportunity's at for the agents. That's when a bunch of level 3s that are performing, that are getting great lead opportunities and continuing to convert at a high level, those are amazing people. And then you've got your 4s, which everybody aspires to be, but it's tough to get there.
What are the benefits of being in that tier 4?
So the best carrot that we have, and I don't know if that's the best term, but the best carrot that we have is the price point. So our lead flow, it changes. So you might still be getting the same opportunities, down funnel to a hand raiser, meaning it's either at appointment or they're ready to talk to an agent. At that point, if you're level 4, you might have you have no cap on the high of the price point, but we put a bottom on it. So you're not going to receive anything that's below 600,000, say.
Interesting.
Right. And so they love that. At one point I thought that was, I thought what they were really going to love were the operational components and support. And that wasn't really the game changer for everybody. And so meaning, hey, I can give you a VA. Once you hit level 4, you get VA support to help manage your calendar, set appointments, do this, do that, like maybe some ISA work, but more administrative work. Plus we did some other things for them as the team. And nobody really
So that wasn't really like a big driver?
Yeah, it wasn't a big driver.
It's just because the fact that they were just I don't know, they're just not closing that many deals in this market, and they're just kind of like, I can handle a couple of deals, 2-3 deals a month.
I mean, some of these, level 4 agents are carrying, 5, 6, some 10 transactions at a time.
At a time, yeah.
And so obviously they've got good TCs. We've got all that. What we were looking at though is like more front end support, other additional support like scheduling showings, to helping them, lead coordinate, which means just helping them dig into their database, not necessarily calling on it, but making sure drip campaigns are set up correctly and they're doing all these things.
Yeah.
Why they liked it, I think why they didn't lean into it as much as I thought they would is because it's like running your business, right? And you have to put the business owner hat on to dive into those
most of
things.
them are not business owners.
Yeah, they're aspiring to be.
They're aspiring
to
Yeah.
be.
Yeah.
And you have to dedicate the time to be a great business owner.
Yeah.
And pour into those people that are working for you and with you. And so, if you're not taking and time blocking out, like, hey, I need to sit and do every morning, I get with my VA to do this, this, and this, and make sure that they're on track for the day. And then I require an end-of-day report from my VA to say, what did you accomplish? What did you get done? And did it align with what I told you the priorities were at the beginning of the day? Super simple to do. Well, kind of. But to be consistent with it, not many can do it. Mm-hmm. Not many do it. Mm-hmm. And that's the hard part, I think. Mm-hmm. And so building those habits and knowing what to do. But so that's where we're rethinking on what the operational lift and support could be. But everybody loves higher price point leads.
So when it comes to all of these levels, 1 through 4, right? Is there like a dedicated, because obviously every step of the way you guys are setting expectations, right? Setting standards. And then who's managing them? Like who's managing those standards? Do you have like managers for every level?
No. So we are regionally based, like firm belief that, real estate's done locally. You have to know the communities that you're in. You have to know the neighborhoods you're in. And so we have team leaders in each one of the pods or in that market area. So for Phoenix, it's Gilbert, Scottsdale, Peoria, Litchfield, Goodyear area. And each one of those has a team leader. My team leader to agent ratio, so it's basically a sales manager to sales rep ratio is 25 to 35 to 1. So each one of those team leaders can carry about 25 to 35 agents. Just like agents, though, team leaders have different capacities. Some do really well and can manage 35. They higher intensity, and some are really good, get really deep with people, and they can only handle about 25. And what I'm asking these team leaders to be are really, really good real estate coaches. That's what I look for. I need you to be a good real estate coach, and that's how we define success. Are you holding good one-on-one coaching sessions with these agents? And so we operate out of a system called 3 Data Pulse, which just basically houses all of our coaching calls and agent notes and making sure that all these agents are on plan. They're on track. They're doing what they should be doing. And the way that I define success for a team leader is, are you handling those one-on-ones? And in a monthly basis, my minimum standard is 85% of your agents had a one-on-one done. And
with
so
you.
With that team leader.
With the team leader, right.
Leader.
So at least one.
At least once a month.
Once a month.
This is the minimum standard.
And what is covered in that one-on-one with that team leader?
It depends.
Right.
And so we have frameworks for coaching calls built out for them. So we ask each agent create at least 3 pillars of their business. A lot of times those 3 pillars, and we're talking like lead generation platforms. One is team generated. And so those come the leads from us. Mm-hmm. We want all of our agents to be on team generated leads. And then we ask you to come up with at least 2. Most have 3 other pillars that they work in. And so that might be open houses, obviously SOI, repeat referral needs to be in there. And maybe it's social media.
Right.
And so they're helping them build. We had goals at the beginning of the year. Let's say you want to close 45 transactions this year. We know, depending on if you're a level 1, 2, 3, or 4 agent, what portion of your business is going to come from team generated. If you're a level 2, 70% of what you do is probably going to come from team generated opportunities. Mm-hmm. Once you've built a book of business, we're probably about 30% of your closings, maybe less. And so at that point, those the agents are working on repeat referral. If you're level 4, it's more repeat referral, SOI. And so what they're talking to them about is like, okay, are we on target? These were the goals that we set for this year. You said you were going to do 50 transactions. We have this many here. We have this many here. We have this many here. And we follow an EOS system, if you're familiar with it, which would be quarterly rocks. And so what I'm going to take an agent through, if they're not hitting the mark in their repeat referral business, we're going to dig into their database and say, what do you have? What have you built out? What campaigns are you using? Any of the campaigns the team's built out? How are you following up with these people post-closing? How are you asking for referrals? And we're going to document that in 3 Data Pulse. Plus, my team leaders have a regional team leader that manages them. So as we see agents that aren't on target, first place we go, just like a CRM, is we go to 3 Data Pulse and we look at it and go, okay, have you been coaching this agent? They're clearly they're not on track to hit what they said their goals were. What's getting in the way? Sometimes it's life events. Sometimes it's things out of their control. Sometimes it's just not the consistency, and they didn't even know what to do in this one pillar, in the open house pillar or the repeat referral business. And so that's what I'm walking them through, and that's what I expect a good team leader to understand and be able to help them with. And so when we use the EOS system, it is those quarterly rocks. We're like, okay, here's the goal, and then here's the strategies and tactics. So it might be something like, hey, I'm going to start a closed Facebook group for all my past clients to do some sort of raffle giveaway every month, right? And so that your strategy is to increase it, and this is the tactic I'm going to employ. Okay, when are you going to get that done by? Okay, what do you need from me to help support you in getting that done? And that holding them accountable to it, and then understanding what the clear tactics are to move towards that goal. You know, a lot of times they just need help fleshing that out, and then help and accountability to getting there.
Got it. So aside from the monthly coaching sessions, one-on-one sessions that your team leaders have with the agents on their team, are there any other like weekly milestone check-ins or any type of like, hey, this is what I've done this week, this is my progress report, or any of that stuff that is expected from the agent?
So we have tracking systems, obviously. So we use Sisu for our dashboarding of like CRM performance. We also use a BI software called Grow, which pulls just what we like about like Follow Up Boss and some of the other systems we use for transaction management is we can pull it all into this BI software of Grow, which displays exactly where an agent's at any given time. So the minimum standard is once a month. The expectation, depending on the agent, is weekly, if that's what the agent needs, if they're off track, or even if they're on track. Like, you can't have too many coaching calls. And the minimum standard is just simply to say, like, if you don't do this, that's a problem. And
so if they don't do it, let's say, for example, they're having these conversations and they're saying, yep, I'm going to do, let's say, 3 open houses, but they're not doing 3 open houses. Something is getting in the way. Oh, this week it's this, another week it's the sick kid, another week we're vacationing, and this and that. What happens in that event? I mean, do you demote them from level 4 to level 3? I mean, are they going backwards, or?
It really, so where we care the most, and we want them to grow on all pillars of their business, but it really matters on team generated leads more than anything. Like, you can, if you're delivering here, because we have a big cost there, and we have a bunch of people that want those leads. If you're not delivering there, then there can be, we don't like, you can be paused and then you can be removed. But I hate the punitive nature and the punitive talk of that. And so we're very clear with people on what the standards are. They know what they need to do. And we define it as like an optimization period. Hey, we're going to pause you. We're going to pause you for the next 30 days. You've got a bunch of connections. We haven't got converted. We're going to dig into this, and we're going to see how to get you back up to the conversion that we need. And so that seems to be the best way of going about it. Now, if you don't hit your open house pillar, that to me is like, hey, do you really want this?
Yeah.
If you don't, but you got to be converting.
So the emphasis is like on team leads, right? Yeah. Because obviously that's the biggest
cost.
expense, right? And then obviously, like on the split side of things, that's where you make most of the money.
Well, yeah, I mean, the revenue comes on that side of it.
Yeah.
The best margin based on cost is on the other stuff.
On the personal stuff, right? Yeah.
But we're the things that we're primarily holding accountability to are the team generated, and then trying to drive the performance on the other stuff.
Got it. So talk to me about these team leaders. I mean, what are the qualifications of a team leader? What does it look like? I mean, what are their, obviously we kind of went into their requirements, what they do. Like, are there like salary plus bonus structure, or can they still continue selling real estate while they're actually like managing a team of 25 or 30?
Yeah. So comp structure for that, and I think it's super important you have people's incentives lined up with what you define as success. And for me, it really comes down to are we creating company dollar? And so what does that look like? For a team leader, they have a base. Base could be anywhere from 45 to 55 in general. Yeah. And then they're given a percentage of company dollar. So let's say 80-20 split on a Sphere transaction. Yep. The 20% that goes to the team, they're getting 6 to 8% of that. So
that 20%.
6 to 8% of it. So correct. 6% if they're depending on where their target is, but like 6% up to 100% of target. Anything over 100%, they move up to 8%. So let's say for this year, you as a team leader have to close 250 transactions. 250 transactions, you're getting 6%, and it's volume related, but I'll do that. You're getting 6% of company dollar up to that, and then anything up to 120%, you get 8%. So from 100% of target to 120%, you're getting 8% of company dollar.
Got it. So is it 6% of 20%?
Correct.
Okay, so it's 6% of 20%. So for example, let's say it's a $10,000 commission check, $2,000 is going to the company. Out of the $2,000, 6% is going to the team leader.
Correct.
Which is going to be like at around $120.
Correct.
Got it.
So then we have other bonuses as well too. If you hit 120% of your target, so you get the you go from 6 to 8% on that additional 20% from 100 to 120, and then you also get a cash payout of a $10,000 bonus if you go above 120%.
Got it.
So depending on the size of your team, depending on past year's transactions, and also our forecasting for this year, everybody's targets move. And so, if you did 250 transactions last year, we're probably going to bump you up 20% if we feel like there's no big challenges coming in the market. And so we might ask that team leader to go, to be at 290 for the year. And now your 100% instead of being 250 is 290 for 2024, and then 120, and then the 10K bonus above that. And so, the idea, keep growing the agents, keep expanding. Sometimes it's less than 20%, but we call that, this might be another Jim Collins reference, but the 20-mile march, where, we want to see 20% growth year over year.
Yep.
And so always expect a 15 to 20% bump in what your goals were from last year.
Okay. All right. So these team leaders, can they still sell real estate?
Yeah, I kind of like it. And the conversation I have with them before they start with our team is that I want you to do a transaction. I want you to be relevant. I want you to know the contracts. I want you to be in the mix of some things. Where I start to have a challenge, one, they don't take team-generated leads. They're all Sphere business that they do. I don't want to limit that income opportunity for them. Yeah. But I have a challenge if you start getting in the double digits. And so a sweet spot for me is like 6 to 8. If you do 6 to 8 transactions a year, you can manage that. You can do everything that we're asking you to do. You can make that nice income. You know it well. You continue to understand the forms that are there. So that's what I like. But if you get to 12, 15, 20, can you really do your job well? Right.
Did you have those type of situations where you had the team leader that it was kind of like focused a little bit too much on the personal production?
No, I think we're really clear with those expectations up front. We've had some that have closed some, pretty big high dollar volume ones. You can see focus slow down a little bit, but then all you have to do is, we have a lot of committed, loyal team leaders. All I have to do is give some awareness to that, and then I get them back on track.
What is your ideal avatar for like a team leader? Let's say, for example, a team leader out there or a brokerage owner out there is looking for a team leader to add. Because it's an investment, right? Mm-hmm. Not only like paying them a salary plus overrides or bonuses on top of it, you're basically trusting them with your agents.
Yep.
So like you never know, those team leaders can get a group of agents to turn on you. Let's say they move and they take all of those agents with them. I mean, that's a possibility of that as well, right? They build their rapport, they build their relationship with these agents, and then there's another company that gives them a sweet deal, and they just take all the agents with them.
Yeah,
that's a possibility, right?
Yeah, 100%.
So, I mean, how do you like identify those individuals that you feel like are worthy to be part of your organization?
We'll get to the perfect disc profile of a team leader, but I look for, first and foremost, do you have like real estate coaching experience? Have you been a Tom Ferry coach? What have you done to lead and coach and train agents before? And I also don't want anybody that's too training heavy. While we're helping support the agents, I want you to get alongside them. And sometimes too, we think training's the solution to a lot of things, but we can overtrain even.
Sure.
So that's what I don't want somebody who always bends to, the agents need training, agents need training. I'm like, they probably need a little bit of, they want somebody to hold them accountable, right? And so you have to be able to have those tough conversations in a nice way that inspires, lead, and motivates these people. And so a high EQ is important to me. You have a good emotional intelligence on how to inspire somebody that they want to win, and you're going to show them how you win together. You got to believe in them.
So how do you determine that high EQ?
That's a good question. I think a lot of that's in conversation. And so what I'm looking for, and I don't do a ton of the interviews, but if I was today, I'm looking at past experience and I'm asking questions about past experience and how they answer those questions. If in an interview you're bagging on your previous team and your previous team leader, and you talk bad about agents and agents are lazy and you got to do this and you got to do that, I'm like, yeah, you're not a cultural fit for us. Yeah. You probably don't have a high emotional intelligence on what it takes to inspire somebody to win. And so to be a good coach, man, you got to believe in the people around you.
Of course. Yeah.
And you also got to be able to bring in the right people. And then if they're not the right people, you got to get them to eventually, like when you have that conversation, if they're going to deselect, they're going to weed out.
Yeah.
Like by the time that people leave, or we would ask them to leave, it's no surprise. It's no surprise to any of them. They usually deselect before we have to ask them to leave.
Yeah.
So a good team leader, that's what I'm looking for. I've seen many different personalities. If you guys follow DISC profile, I've seen a lot of DISC profiles do well in the team leader role, but I would say you got to be a people person. You got to you lean towards a people perspective. So that'd be a higher I, and then S, which is steady and consistent. Strong D, while it's great. I mean, I'm a high D, I'm a DC, but the high D can almost drive too hard. And so somewhere in there is a balance of being a great people person, being steady to hold a minimum of 25 to 35 coaching calls a month and do it well and care. You got to have that high S in there. And you got to like people.
Yeah, and articulation and having those conversations, that's high I. And then probably mid D, ideally.
Mid D, yeah. You can't have such a low D that you can't
There's no drive. Yeah, there's no drive. No. So are they also responsible for driving or recruiting agents into their teams, or you have somebody else who's actually in charge of that?
So yes, when you first come on, if we're launching a new pod or a new office, you do have to be somewhat focused on recruiting. We have a bunch of recruiting platforms. We have people coming in, and when in full scale, we're onboarding 15 to 20 agents a month.
So you right now bringing in 15 to 20 agents a month.
we had a little bit of turnover on the front end and onboarding
Well, it
of our
happens
system.
everywhere. I mean,
Yeah.
but all right. So let's
But so
talk.
like last year we recruited 150 agents.
Yeah.
Brought on 150 new agents to the team, and we lost 96. So high turnover, but the majority of those are in level 1, level 2, which is a more acceptable rate of attrition. I actually moved that recruiter to, he's an amazing human that works really, really hard and is super loyal to the team. And you cap out eventually as a recruiter, and he is going to do so well in the real estate side of the business,
Like selling
real estate. He's already, I think he's first year fully into it, mind you, and we're just 1 quarter in. He's number 7 or 8 in the company, which is hard to do. Wow. And so
that's his first year. Real estate.
Transition him over. Yeah. He's just.
And how long was your recruiter?
So he was actually just last year. He's been one of those guys that's super loyal, does whatever we need within the company, but he was my acquisitions guy. And so,
so he's a hunter.
Like he is 100% a hunter. We did 80 to 100. I can't remember, man, 2020, 2021, flips, wholesale deals. And he was my hunter on all of that. We had a really great source that dried up. And obviously some of the margin's gone right now, and you can still find the deals, but it's not as easy as it was then. Yeah. So I pivoted him to recruiting. He killed it there, brought on 150 agents. I'm like, brother,
dude, he recruited 150 agents.
The first year he was in He was in as a recruiter.
What were the recruiting methods or systems that you guys are using?
Our funnel, our best funnel, and we're friendly competitors here. So our best funnel is LinkedIn.
Really?
LinkedIn is by far our best funnel. We work well too with our second best is Human Eyes. And so these are as far as lead gen platforms. And then right there, rivaling the two of those is referrals from our existing agents.
Human Eyes, I think they're Indeed, right? Are they Indeed? Or?
Human Eyes is more social media
stuff,
that drives back. Yeah, it drives back to Indeed.
Yeah.
They've done well for us, set up a lot of appointments, but LinkedIn from my profile, engaging
Your
agent
profile.
from my profile has done better than anything else. We set a lot of appointments from that, and Jack is the recruiter.
Dude, you would think that LinkedIn would not be really popular social media platforms for agents. I mean, I got a LinkedIn account, dude. That's the last.
Wouldn't you think? That's what I thought.
That's the last account I use. I mean, I see constantly people connection requests and everything like that. I just like whatever.
And I think some of it is how long I've been in this market. People are familiar with our names, and it gets responses. Now I try to do the same campaign down in Tucson. Crickets. Nada, man. Try to expand to Dallas. Not crickets. Crickets, man. So it works here. It works in your primary market where you're known, and so people respond, and then we set up appointments and meetings with them from there.
Yeah.
And then referral, we offer some incentives to our agents, but our agents are generally raving fans of the team.
Sure. Yeah.
And so cross deals, we don't incentivize significantly, but we do give some incentive to bring somebody aboard. And we get a number from that too.
Yeah. So who's working your LinkedIn? Is it that recruiter that actually messaging? Recruiter's messaging, or you got a VA?
Bots. We have a bot that does it.
Yeah.
And then the recruiter is the one that follows up from the responses of the bot. So the bot can take it only so far, and then it'll follow up. So, but if any recruiters out there listening, it is me that's doing it. It is. Yeah, it's a bot, and it works well. And then Aaron, our new recruiter, is the one that's following up with them now.
Yeah.
And so where the recruiter last year, Jack, was about 15 a month, 12 to 15 a month. We're seeing about 7 to 8 a month right now onboarding,
which is still very good.
Which is good.
Dude, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
So what would a compensation look like for someone like a recruiter? Do you pay him a base plus bonuses? Is it all bonuses? I got a recruiter right now. We're paying a heavy base and then bonuses on the agent production.
Yeah, I'll try to recall this one. I'm always for tiered approach on bonuses rather than a per unit structure. So I think everybody, like I said, everybody's comp plan should align with, and incentives should align with what your goals are. And so if we want 150 recruits, we know what we're on target to get 150 recruits. And so minimum standard today is that we recruit at least 7 to 8. The goal is to get to 15 a month again. And so to hit, you have a base, which base a lot of times to me is survival-ish, so 40 to 50K, maybe a little bit more. That's probably where our recruiter's at, somewhere in that range. And then you have the minimum standard, which is you hit bonus if you get 7 to 8. Now it tiers up if you're in this range, which is, call it 8 to 12. And then from 12 to 15 plus, you're at X bonus. What does that look like? I couldn't tell you today.
So the total comp can be potentially be at around $80,000 to $90,000.
Yeah, I think on target, like if we hit 150K,
Yeah.
they'll be just under 6 figures.
Under 6 figures.
Yep.
Right. And then they're looking at real estate agents making
Yeah.
$100,000 and selling 8 homes.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay,
I want to do that.
I want to do that.
Which is, once again, which is fine with me too, if that's what we think the best seat on the bus for him is. But what I asked Jack was, help me with your succession plan. Like I will help you build it. I will help you get there. And I know you'll be a number 1 agent on the team, or you'll be in the top 10, no doubt. But you can't quit this job until you have a replacement, and you got to help me with that.
So he found a replacement.
He helped train.
helped.
Yeah, he helped train
Good.
and get them up and running. And so that's something, once you get loyal team members, and like I believe in you and I want you to win, and I think you can win like this, and I'm behind you on it. But you got to help support the business and make sure that we don't go backwards.
Mm-hmm.
And so while we'll get you there, you got to have a succession plan for yourself.
Interesting. So if, let's say, for example, I'm an aspiring team leader, or a team leader that is just like struggling, like I bring in 3, 4, 5 agents, I lose 2, 3 agents. Like I just cannot get any type of attraction. Like I remember my first 2 years as a team leader, it was a shit show.
Yeah.
Like I remember my first year, I hired 5 agents. I ended up with 1 by the end of the year, and collectively those 5 agents did like 11 transactions. Like it was bad.
Yeah.
Right. My second year, I think I hired like 10 agents and 3 left. So I didn't know what I was doing most of the time until I hired mentors, coaches, and all of that stuff. So like, if you, let's say, were to start again from scratch, right, and like knowing what you know now, like how would you like structure your team from day one?
I would definitely do the levels system to show a growth path. I still believe one of the biggest and most important things you can do as a team leader is lead generation. You've got to feed these people, and that's not always the same. Not everybody has that philosophy, but I know that I can generate leads well, and that builds this relationship and accountability and this opportunity to help you grow, and it's me pouring into your business. And so if you're a new team leader and you're having struggles with agents leaving, the first thing that I would do is look at what value you provide. And the values that I choose to provide is great coaching, mentoring. I think that has to be a given for any team leader. I choose to provide leads. I've heard people say, if you bring them on for leads, they're gonna leave because of leads. I'm like, I don't really give a shit, because I have leads and I need people to close them. Mm-hmm. I think you have to do that in a great tech stack. They need you have to be the operationally minded one that's testing new things, that's trying new things out, and you're building these good automations and good systems for them to be able to perform.
So at minimum, let's unpack the tech stack, right? At minimum, if you're a team leader, obviously you got to have a lead gen website, IDX.
Yep.
CRM on the back end.
Yep.
What else?
They got to know if they're winning. So dashboarding system. I couldn't live without our dashboarding systems.
Using Sisu.
We're using Sisu and Grow. Grow,
which is a business intelligence.
Yep. BI
platform.
software that you can pull in from anywhere, essentially, that has an API.
Yeah.
I think that those are super important. What I like, obviously CRMs, but there's so many other things that you can plug into it. And so for me, the best systems are the ones that integrate well. You got to be able to play well with others. And so whatever we look for has to have, great opportunities for integration. And those are probably the minimum ones. We can go into all the other ones we use and we like, but you got to have minimum CRM dashboarding systems. I think as a team leader, if you're losing 3 to 5, or so going back to that, if that's happening to you, I think understand the value you provide, but also look at your day and where you're spending the time. And when I stepped out of production, we went backwards in income. My wife and I went backwards in income, but I had to wear this coach hat and wear this team leader hat and this leader hat more than I had to wear it as producing agent.
Yep.
And so not a lot of people are willing to do that. And I think some team leaders get into the team leadership aspect just as opportunistic and not realizing that.
You mean, I can generate a bunch of leads, work those leads, I'll make 50% of that. I'm still going to be producing and closing 50, 60 transactions a year.
Yeah. Are you really bought in to the development of the people and agents around you that you're bringing under you?
Yeah.
Like, are you as committed to their goals as they are to their goals? And so that's what you have to understand. So if all of your time, if you're still addicted to the transaction, you're going to have a hard time being a really good team leader. And so that's what I had to decide. And I didn't necessarily love the transaction. I love the investment sides of transactions. But at the end of the day, like, it was more fulfilling for me to help agents grow and produce.
Got it. Okay. All right. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. You're one of the first, if not the first, team in the nation that had Zillow offers.
Correct.
You were the first one.
First one. Yes.
The first one.
We launched it with them.
You launched. You were the guinea pig.
Yep.
So if you don't mind sharing, like, how that whole process went on, because I mean, it was a huge opportunity.
Yeah. So we were. I'll walk you through the story of it. We had small, like, ad spend with Zillow at the time. This is 2017, I think it was 2017. We're spending about $10,000 a month to Zillow. Getting some
small, 10,000 a month.
I guess, it's all relative, right? But we were doing some Zillow leads, and then they had announced that they were going to do instant offers, I think is what they called it at that time. It was in New York. And I called my rep, who was Suzanne Davidson at the time. And I said, Stan, I want to be involved in this side of the business. I think the instant offers and a cash offer is the best top of funnel seller lead generation you can do. Now, there's an interesting part to offering a cash offer or guaranteed offer is a great seller lead generation tool. You also have to operate with integrity and make sure that you deliver on buying some of those properties and offer. And so it doesn't become bait and switch, right? And so when I heard that Zillow was getting into the instant offer program, and at that time it wasn't them buying it, it was other investors, Open Door, Offer Pad. I can't remember who was behind all of that, REITs maybe. And so I called Suzanne and said, hey, I want to be in that. You can't buy all of them. So I want anything that you guys don't buy. I want the opportunity to list it. And so she came into town. We sat and powwowed for, a couple hours on it. And I also wanted to be an investor. I go, can I also make an offer? Like, if you guys are going to have a platform where we can make an offer as well too.
Yeah.
And she's like, okay, well, let me dig into this a little bit more. And so about 2 weeks later, I get a call from a gentleman named Austin, and I'm talking through what my ideas are for the iBuying platform and what we could do differently and how we can make it a great experience.
From Zillow.
From Zillow. Yeah, Austin from Zillow calls me. Well, come to find out, I go, it's Austin Allison. Austin Allison was the creator of Dotloop, who was one of the technologies Zillow purchased. Dotloop is a transaction management software. I don't remember what they bought it for, $130 million or something like that. So I talked to him for a little bit. We talked for a couple hours between a couple meetings. And he's like, all right, George, I'm going to come into town. We're coming into town to Phoenix next Tuesday, and this is a Thursday. He's like, we're going to come into town on Tuesday, and we'd like to pick your brain for a few hours. Can you get us like a conference room? We'll sit down, and we'll just kind of go through all the nuances of buying and selling real estate in the Phoenix market. I was like, yeah, well, what else should I prepare for? Do you guys need document? Like, what do you need to know? Like, just assume we don't know anything. I go, okay, I that should be okay. I can figure this out. And then I go, who's going to be there?
Who's gonna?
Who's going to be there? And so he gives me the short list of the attendees, which is Lloyd Frink, who was co-founder, Stan Humphries, who created the Zestimate, Jeremy Waxman, who is now president, maybe COO, I don't know his exact title, and then a couple other people.
So all the headshots, like
big
all
shots
the big shots,
flying in to pick my brain, who is. I think we're a 40 agent team at that time, maybe 20,
that was what 2017.
Yeah, 40 agent, 50
I
agent.
mean, Open Door was around.
Yeah.
OfferPad was around. Yeah.
And Zillow wanted to get into the iBuying game.
Yeah.
And so they came in and literally. So this is Thursday. I don't think I barely slept until Tuesday because I saw the opportunity. Meaning, I thought they were thinking of getting in the iBuying space themselves. They've got the capital. They've got and hopefully I can be a partner in that. And so trying to prepare with no real clear direction was fun and stressful. But they come and they show up. It goes really well. I talk about the nuances of the market, how I'd carried 600 assets, with REO, and all we had done in that model.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, we'll be back in touch.
That's what they said.
Yeah, I mean, it was a little bit better than that. I was like, hey, we like you, do a
Yeah.
good job,
Yeah.
and
So
we'll be
who
back
did you
in
bring
touch.
with you? It was you?
Hey, sorry for the interruption. Are you a real estate brokerage owner or a team leader that is looking to add consistently agents into your brokerage? My company's name is Modern Day Brokerage, and we help over 100 plus real estate brokerage owners and team leaders to predictably attract between 4 to 5 agents a month. If you want to learn more about it, go to the description page and select from one of the 4 links that we have there for you. Now back to the video.
And so it's not one business, but in our core business, the lead sources have stayed the same to somewhat. So really our big partnership, because of what we did with Zillow Offers, we still have a big partnership with Zillow. We get
Flex.
Yeah, a ton of Flex leads, and we work really, really hard to keep those.
Who's working those leads? Level 4 agents, level 3 agents,
So
or all of them?
all of them can, but by price point.
Price point.
Yep. And so I think we have, of our 220 agents, we have probably about 90 that are on Flex leads right now.
Gotcha.
Some come in, some get paused, and so there's a little bit of back and forth. Then we have some good seller lead channels as well too, partnerships with Open Door, cash offers, top of funnel lead generation, and cash offers. We have pilot with Zillow, and so we're running a bunch of different strategies for lead generation. My job today is high level relationships like Homes.com. Zillow, creating our own lead generation platforms too. Like, that's another thing that we're working on right now. Is just like, how do we become more durable where we're not dependent, right? And so, and looking at it as a separate business too. And so okay, we need to generate. So even our PPC leads, things that don't have a referral fee attached, essentially go to this team. And it is like our own lead generation company. And so we have ISAs that are part of that company. That's our offshore ISAs now that are working that and trying to build it. And we're actually generating leads in other states and sending those out as well too. But it's early stages. That was in our EOS model, quarterly rocks, annual rocks. Lead diversification is one of those core focuses. And while we love our partnerships, we also realize to be durable, we've got to have a little bit more diversity here. And so that was our solution: is go create a lead gen company, essentially. Like, let's put some capital behind this. Let's go out there and create our own lead gen
So
company.
are you envisioning, like, on a tech side, having like, let's say Google pay-per-click, Facebook pay-per-click, and then on a back end you have the ISA department, the call center that will qualify and then send those referrals to, let's say, agents
with my team, not with my team.
Okay,
Yep.
got it.
And so that's the thought process, is like, create something where cost per lead in Phoenix is a little bit higher, but there's other markets too, like We want to expand to Dallas. We want to expand to some other areas, and cost per lead's quite a bit lower there. And so it just gives us an opportunity to be more durable. Excuse me. And so that's where we're investing right now.
Love it. Yeah, I want to touch on NAR situation. I mean, I know this has been going on for about a month and a half right now. You still have agents that are concerned. You have brokerage owners. I mean, we got about 112 brokerage owners and team leaders that we work with, and like most of them are concerned, like what's going to happen, especially after July, commission compression. I know you've been talking about this for at least 2 or 3 years now.
Yep.
Yourself, so where do you see where this whole thing going, especially with the DOJ now is still kind of not happy with this whole settlement thing, and they want to decouple the whole thing. Like, what are your thoughts? What are your prognosis? I mean, where do you see this thing becoming?
Yeah, I think the high D in us wants to go and create action right away. Like, what do we need to do today? What are the steps, and what's our strategies and tactics to make sure that our business is not impacted significantly? But what I've been stressing to my leadership team is this is one we do have to get into action, but not action on everything.
Yeah.
So right now is a time to exercise some tactical patience. And I'll go, a buddy of mine, team leader in San Antonio, Levi Rogers, he said, don't go on to the half-frozen lake in your new ice skates. And so
I like that.
It's a great, and so that's what I'm what do we need to do today? And so what I always look at in situations like this, and Alan, like we've been through several situations in our careers, from a pandemic to the scary iBuyers to
even
trade.
last year, 2023.
Yes.
I mean, it was a rough year.
It was a rough year,
yeah.
right? And so there's been so many things that we've overcome, and I can tell you what is possible in a lot of those is super scary when you think about, okay, well, how is trade going to impact us? What could a pandemic do? And I can tell you, a lot of times it's not as bad as what we perceive it to be initially. And so I always look at what's possible and then what's probable. What I think is probable in this is we know, and the buyer's agent and their role and their function has been undervalued for a number of years. And why is that? It's because we, as agents, have always been explaining that, hey, it's simple. I can do all of this for you. It's easy. It's
and
this.
You don't have to pay me for it.
You don't have to pay me.
Yeah.
We didn't articulate the complexities of what we do very well. We try to insulate our clients from it, shield them from it, and not even like tell them of some of the minutia to the super complicated things that we have to do. I'll give you an example. My wife, we were at a soccer game a couple Sundays ago. A buyer that she's working with found the property that they love, and they wanted to go see it. She had to leave the soccer game early, go show the home. Sure enough, it was the one that they wanted to buy. So here we are, Sunday evening, 8:30 at night. She's writing up an offer for her client that will have suck, and that's our job, 100%. But what she's doing then, and what we don't explain, is we're looking at every single little thing with that property on how we can find an edge in negotiation to get our client what they want. Right. And so while a good buyer's agent may not be the difference in finding the property for you because of IDX sites, it's out there.
Everywhere.
Information's
out
there. A good buyer's agent is the difference in getting what you want. And so we have to be really good. And so she's looking at who the listing agent is. She's asking me, do you know her? I'm like, I don't know her. Maybe this person knows her. Maybe this person. So we're trying to find a connection in the relationship. We're looking at the history of the property. Like, how long has it been listed before? Has it been in escrow since it's been on the market? Did it fall out? Why would it have fallen out? Do we know the sellers? I'm looking at LinkedIn to see if they're in a job relocation. I'm doing all of these things to find a leg up for my client so they get what they want. Right? What did we tell our buyer about all that? Zero.
Nothing.
Zero.
Nothing.
Zero. They thought they opened a door. We went and opened a door, wrote a contract. They went under contract. Now we're working relationships. We're working angles. We're doing all these things. And so how do you define that to a buyer? We've got to start telling it. And it's not the 179 points that NAR put out. Those are tasks. remind me, and there's nothing hard, nothing complicated about those tasks. And if that's what you're articulating as your value, you got a freaking problem, man, because we're so much more than that.
Yeah.
It reminds me of a presentation that my 12-year-old put together on why he deserves an iPhone. Like, I'm like, I'm telling my agents, do not send that out. Do not send that out. You're so much more than this. And so I think as an industry, what do I think is going to happen? What am I preparing my agents for? I think there is going to be some commission compression. I don't think it's significant as what some of the people would lead you to believe. I think that most sellers, when educated correctly, are still going to choose to offer compensation to the buyer's broker. It's truly in their best interest. And I say that even if I wasn't in this industry and I was looking at it and going, if I was to list my home, should I offer a buyer broker compensation? 100%.
Yeah.
100%. So I think that there's going to be an opportunity for some other models come out. There's been this has happened before, and they failed to gain market share because it doesn't provide a better experience. And so right now, what I'm preparing my agents for is Arizona is one of those markets that has been behind in getting buyer broker agreements signed. There's a lot of markets where it's just normal part of business. I talk to other team leaders in other states. So this is how we do business. This isn't scary to us. You talk to people in Washington where this model already exists. You talk to people in Canada. You talk to commercial brokers. They're like, what are you guys freaking out about? I'm like, okay, maybe there's something there. So then I go from what's possible, the scary that's possible and unlikely, to what's probable.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, this isn't that probable. So I need to prepare my agents to start asking for buyer broker agreements. We need to make that mandatory. We need to get them really well educated on the scripting and how do you handle those conversations if you're not asking for them today, and how do you articulate your value. And please do not send these 179 tasks
and everything like that.
That a VA could complete.
Yeah.
And I'm preparing them on the scripting side.
Yeah.
And we're just role playing every single day. And
you are.
We're getting them better and better at it. And so that's the focus right now in our tactical patience. I can think of a bunch of other things that my high driver says we should do this, this, and this. And I go, but there's still just too many questions. Remember, this is a proposed settlement.
It's not I don't think it's settled yet.
It's not even settled.
Yeah, it's not. And then the DOJ, I think what they want, they want to completely like separate the seller commission from the buyer commission, right? So they want the buyers to pay the buyer's agents and the sellers to pay the listing agents.
Which we know is who does that affect and who does that impact? Most buyers can barely put together the closing costs they have today.
Yeah.
Right. So if it's not financed in, the sellers, I mean, ultimately are the ones that have the equity and the capital to be able to do it. And we can talk a lot of times, man, it's just semantics too on how it gets paid. It's being wrapped in a loan, it's being factored in here. And so one way or another, I think not much changes.
Yeah.
Not much changes. And I never am the guy to bury my head in the sand or be naive about something. And when I look at what's probable, I know how stinking hard buyers agents work, and they got to be fairly compensated for that.
Yeah. During these moments, I mean, you mentioned about our high D and everything like that. You're thinking about like the solutions, right? Diversification, right? I mean, what are your thoughts on that? What are your thoughts on ancillaries or verticals out there? Going after, let's say, mortgage, insurance, property management, title, and all of that stuff.
Yes, and yes.
Yes, and yes.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's, to be durable again, you better be focusing on ancillaries. This isn't one business. And if, the margins in running a team, running a brokerage are not super sexy. And so,
especially in Metro Phoenix area.
Agreed. We're a highly competitive market, a test kitchen market, a lot of different models here. And although we do have a lot of transactions, it is a very super competitive. So not highly profitable. And so you've got to be managing the ancillaries. Where I would start if I'm a team leader, title escrow, I think is ideal. There's not a ton of lift, and I don't think you get it's probably easier to get adoption there than some other areas. Mortgage is also what I like about insurance. Insurance is residual. There's really not much in this industry that has a residual. And so if you can build that good book of business in insurance, that's nice as well. Property management, you and I talked about that before this podcast. I think it's a great hedge against changes in the industry, but man, it is tough, not very fulfilling, and not super profitable. And so I think that's another business that has to feed off ancillaries, right? And so if you don't have the ancillaries planned out as part of the roadmap, don't get into property management. Outside of that, man, we're all real estate investors at heart.
Yeah.
I think at it. Buy properties.
Are you still buying? Are you still buying properties?
The right deals, yeah. I was telling you too, I don't know if we said that here, but there was a point where we were carrying 10 to 15 flips at a time. We were wholesaling a bunch of other
10
ones.
10 to 15 flips at any given time? Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's when we had a really good distressed seller funnel. So that was iBuyer days.
Yeah.
iBuyers, Open Door would say,
would not touch the
they're like, hey George, this
properties.
we this one we didn't make an offer because of bad condition. I go, yeah, send it to me. I'll take a look at it.
Nice.
And so that's where we got all of the opportunities. That lead source went away. So we're not carrying as many as we used to. But yeah, definitely investors at heart. I'm still buying rental properties a lot now. The models and the acquisition strategies change over time. Before it was, when rates were low, I'm getting them into a loan, or I might be paying cash and refinancing out of it after I rehab it. Right now, the strategy is sub 2.
So you're using sub 2 right now?
Sub 2, yeah. I use a local attorney to kind of facilitate everything for me, so it's done the right way. And buying them, I think this year we bought 3 sub 2, so nothing crazy.
Do you have somebody who's actually going there and presenting the sub 2 option?
Yeah,
or is it you?
No. Yeah. Jack.
Oh, Jack.
My Jack of all trades, right? Like he's the go-to on, because he was my acquisition guy for a number of years.
That's right. Yeah.
He office is right next to me. He just gets it done. And so that's who I go to on a lot of those things. We'll identify a property, whether it comes through our funnel or it's from, Open Door, Zillow, any one of those. We'll look at it. And he analyzes it and we analyze it together.
Yeah. Wow, man. I mean, you're doing so many things, and you've been doing such a great job at such a high level for so many years. Like you've been married for 18 years, two kids,
2 boys, yeah,
2 boys, 2 dogs.
Yep.
Man, where do you find time for I don't know if we call it a balance, right? And I mean, entrepreneurs, business owners, it's tough to have a balance. But like, look at you're jacked. You work out, you're in great shape, right? I mean, you've been married for 18 years. Like, how do you find that space, like running multiple businesses, and then at the same time, like running a family?
It's growth is through the people you bring around you.
Yeah.
And I never lose sight of that. And I never lose sight of how incredibly hard all of them work. Not just our agents, but I've got a great COO. I've got a great operations manager. I have a great VP of sales. All of that provides me opportunities to still have a life outside of the day-to-day grind. The entrepreneur in me, though, as soon as I have space, we find the next thing to go and attack. And so, it goes back to the mantra of we haven't won yet. And that's in a lot of areas, whether it's health and fitness, whether it's just this constant student of growth. And so how do I find the time? By adding A players around me is the only way that you find and increase your capacity. And so if I were to start an insurance company next year, let's call it, I would go, Billy, what do we need to get off of your plate to go build this year?
So you're going to be leveraging Billy to
go build it. Yeah.
Why Billy?
He's my ops guy.
He's
my ops. Like,
right.
Yeah. Or like,
so you would not partner up with somebody who's actually
we would, but he's going to go find that who.
Oh,
he's going to go interview.
Gotcha.
He's going to go see if we can buy a book somewhere. Same thing with like lead gen company. I pulled my best operator out of my team business and said, this is the most important thing we're going to do this year. This is the most important thing we do for future, for 3, 4, 5 years from now. And so I've got to have my A players there. And so while this is losing money right now, I've got one of my best talented operators sitting in that seat building for me, because I know that you give her a target, she's going to make it happen. She's going to find the resource. They're resourceful. They work hard. And if you give them that target, they were going to trudge up that mountain every single time until they get there. And then they get well compensated.
How do you come up with a target in the first place without actually knowing the intricacies of that particular business?
Yeah, I guess it depends.
And then you're putting an operator who probably never ran that type of a business.
So for me, if we're talking lead gen company, we're going to start simple. So one is, how many appointments can you set a month? Let's work at we've got a database today of 400, 500,000 people. How many
you got a database of 400 to 500,000 people
over. Yeah, I mean, I've been in business 18 years.
That's still about 400. But I mean, it's a gold mine by itself.
Yeah, exactly.
Right there,
and how many appointments could we generate a month if we were working that effectively? From PPC, you'll say those are dead leads, but if you put automations in place, you have a good SMS AI texting campaign, and you do all these things, and you have a nearshore ISA team. I put her in that seat in October. In January, she generated 71 appointments. February was like
in 2.5 months.
2.5 months, 71 appointments that we didn't have.
With how many ISAs?
I think she's at 5 right now, 4 or 5. Yeah.
And then you have the AI that is just getting the engagement going.
Yep. So AI is top of the funnel. SMS, I think we're using Texting Betty or YLOPO's Raya, I think. We're actually testing both. Remember, scientific method, test 2, see which one gets better to more hand raisers. And so we're using SMS as the top of the funnel to rejuvenate old leads.
Yeah.
We're pulling some out and putting them on other platforms like Fellow, which is a seller conversion funnel. So all those Zillow CMAs we did, we had information. We have the address, we have the homeowner's info. And so we put those into seller. Anything that didn't sell from the time that we did the CMA to now are in Fellow drip campaigns.
So it's almost kind of like, what's that other product? HomeBot? Something similar to that.
Yep, similar to HomeBot.
Kind of get the value of their house on a monthly basis.
Yep. Yeah. So, there's other parts of the campaign. And so that's what we're doing in putting the right A player in those seats that you can trust. And I can do a weekly level 10 call is what we call it, where you're just going through dashboards. So are you on target for the KPIs that we set out together at the beginning of this project, in the beginning of this quarter? So we'll go over dashboards first, then we go over the 3 rocks for that quarter. The rock for this, that first quarter might be, it might have been 50 appointments, and then the tactics and strategies within that would have been, you got to hire 5 ISAs.
Yeah.
Got to hire 5 ISAs. For her, it was like, you got to get your broker's license too, because this is a separate company. And so like the first 6 weeks, she was working on broker's license.
Yeah, because you're expecting a referral fee from your clients. Yep. Makes sense. And you're going national with that play.
Yeah. When we started generating leads, we had some, obviously a database of 400,000 or 500,000, then we're doing some lead generation, but even in that we had some relocation stuff. We had other things that were coming out of our existing database that had just made sense. Made sense to be national, and we were plugged into networks, and I have a good network of agents across the country, and doing, we were able to send some out. Now, they're nothing crazy lead flow, but there's some team leaders are sending 4 or 5, 4 or 5 leads a month to appointments. Yeah. So it's also like, my belief is that you can't. We say leads a lot. Agents don't want leads; they want appointments. Team leaders don't want leads; they want appointments. Like I can get leads. Leads aren't hard to generate. You've got to get them down funnel to a hand raiser.
So these are appointments.
Yeah, generally speaking, hand raiser to appointment.
Yeah, I want to talk to the agent.
I'm ready to talk to somebody. Right.
Yeah. So similar to Upcities of the world.
Yep.
Flexes. Got it. So, man, this is fascinating. I mean, I have so many other, but I know we got to run, dude. Yeah. So, like, what's next? Like, like 5 years from now, like, where do you see this whole thing?
I think we tend to underestimate where we can be in 5 years. If I would
Underestimate or overestimate?
I would say underestimate where you
So
can
we
get.
overestimate where we can be in a year, and then underestimate where we can be in 5 years.
Yes.
Yeah. I agree with you. Yep.
So I can set some pretty big 1 year targets, but then when I go, okay, now extrapolate that out over, 5 years. I think we can go a little bit bigger. So right now we're at 220 agents. The goal, the 5 year goal, is to be at 1,100.
1,100 agents.
1,100 in multiple markets
Nationally.
And we'll follow the path. We'll follow the path of the REITs or iBuyers. You in the Sunshine States. So. We really like Vegas. Vegas is a sister city for us. When I look at where I want to go and where I want to expand, I always look at, I have to have two things, and hopefully at least one of the two things, which is undeniable talent or an undeniable lead source. And so hopefully I have both, and I can take our lead source there, and then I can find the talent. I also look at homogeneous. It has to have a good talent pool. In general, meaning enough agents that nobody has a significant market share, and they're pretty spread out. And then for us, for scalability, it has to have like homogeneous housing stock. So meaning it's really hard to comp and create systems around properties that have a lot of nuances in the way the properties are built. So when you have $1 million home sitting across the street from a $300,000 home, it's tough for the hub, which is for us is always going to be in Phoenix.
So like a track market type of
exactly. You think of like Boston, and like these East Coast where you can have these interesting properties, and there's a track home across the street from a $1 million plus home, right? Yeah. So it becomes hard. I like the ones that have the master planned communities, that have HOAs, that most of the housing stock is built after 1985. Those to me make it very duplicatable and scalable. And so we'll look at that.
So like Southwest region, Southeast regions of the country.
Vegas, Denver, Colorado Springs, Dallas. I mean, anywhere in Texas. Austin's a little inflated, but Dallas, San Antonio, going to Atlanta, Carolinas, Florida, all of that are sexy, and it's the same path. I mean,
that's where the migration is happening too, right? I mean,
all the hedge funds spent a lot of time and energy and market research on where they wanted to go. I did not, and so I'm just going to follow the path that they took.
What about California?
I tried California, man. Too much red tape. Yeah.
Really? I think you had a team at one point in California.
Team there, yeah. So we had a team of 40 to 50 in Riverside, it's Orange County area, and pandemic. It was right when pandemic hit. We had grown it up to that, I think, in late 2018, 2019, and then 2020 hit, and it basically shut down real estate transactions in California. We didn't have a significant expense, but I mean, we were eating about 40, 50K a month. Yeah. And it was just one of those where we go like, all right, guys, we can't do it. And then the minutia of the red tape in California, they make it really hard to be a business owner there. There were taxes for taxes. And I couldn't even keep up with employment and things that you had to do and hoops you had to jump through. Billy was frustrated with me. Shandis, who is running the lead gen company now, was running that market for us. It just came to the point where the juice wasn't worth the squeeze. Yeah. So you're just like, all right, guys, I hate pulling the plug on things, but it's also a smart business. Smart business is just know when to pull out.
Okay. Got it. All right, my man.
Yeah. Wow. Appreciate you, man.
I mean, so if let's say our audience want to connect with you, what's the best way?
So hit me up at Instagram. That's the best way. DM me at George Laughton. Find me on Instagram, and I respond to all those DMs. There's no bots. You can hit me up on LinkedIn.
But most likely you're going to encounter a bot.
Encounter a bot.
George.
I would say Instagram is probably the best spot. Email me too.
Got it. And then the website, LaughtonTeam.com.
So LaughtonTeam.com. My Phoenix Home Search, but that's our IDX site. But Laughton Team is going to be the best way to get in touch with us.
Right on. Thanks, bro.
Appreciate you, man.
Appreciate it, man. All right.
Thanks, neighbor.
Good work. You got it.
Good to see you, brother.
Hey, thanks for watching this video. If you like this type of a content, hit a like button, drop a comment, and subscribe to my channel to be in the loop for any future videos.